grinder mentality. I grind for the feeling. I'm a real ass nigga. These niggas, they counterfeit it. Staying true to my religion, they thinking that I'm a Christian. Mama thinking I'm a villain, but I'm expressing my feelings.
Welcome back to the Rich Mentality Podcast. What's good? Still positive, still on the podcast, still giving that content, still encouraging you guys to keep a rich mentality, still encouraging myself to keep a rich mentality. And it's something that, because we're going to touch on multiple things, right? Obviously, we lost Bob Proctor. He was a, very influential individual who spoke on the mindset, very influential individual who spoke on paradigm shifts. If you don't know the paradigm shift, it's a pattern, and it could be a good pattern or a bad pattern. But what happens is your mind gets so used to completing these tasks and doing certain things where you don't even know that you're actually doing it. It's a paradigm shift. So you can have a paradigm shift where you stop operating like a thousandaire and you start operating like a millionaire. You can have a paradigm shift where you stop operating like a millionaire, you begin to operate like a billionaire. Or a paradigm shift can be simply just shifting jobs, shifting career paths. A paradigm shift is when you shift something in your mind, subconsciously did not know that you was doing, and you just shift that whole thought pattern process. And like I said, we lost Bob Proctor, and he always spoke on those things tremendously. Great speaker. So we definitely gotta give it up for Bob Proctor for sure. Another thing that I wanted to address was, money and success doesn't make you happy. Well, what do I mean by money and success doesn't make you happy? Well, as you know, we also lost Miss USA, and that was something that I actually wanted to speak on as well, because what everyone don't realize is that when you have followers, when you have people who support you, when you have money, when you have the spotlight and prestige, and you have all of these things that us as human beings we think makes us happy, you really don't know what will make you happy until you're actually in that position. And obviously there was something that she was not happy about. There was something that didn't fulfill her fully. It was something that didn't allow her to feel like she was just at this euphoric feeling that human beings normally think that you have. And that's something that stuck out to me, because I feel that us as humans, us as people, especially entrepreneurs who's ready for their business to take off, as you should be, who's ready for the best, who's ready, for success, who's ready for this prestige, and thinking that it's gonna cure whatever pain that you have internally, thinking that it's gonna cure whatever pain you have mentally. Whatever the case is, it's not gonna cure that. And it goes to mental health, but it also goes to what was she actually thinking that made her feel that ending her life was the only option, or ending her life was the only thing that she could do. And when you put it in context, you think that having hundreds of thousands of followers, hundreds of thousands of supporters, comments, likes, whatever the case is, you would think that those things make you happy. But money and success doesn't make you happy. It's about what's going on inside your mind. What's going on inside your arsenal. What's going inside of you internally? What are you thinking about? What are your thoughts? How do you feel? Is your mind controlling your thoughts, or is your thoughts controlling your mind? And when you put these things in context, you ask yourself, what was it that she was going through? And me personally, it beats me, because I'm not even sure. I don't even know. When you think about it, when someone has prestige and fame and success and fortune, you just automatically think that, this date, man. You just automatically think like they got it all, but you don't know what they did to get there. You don't know what they had to sacrifice to get there. You don't know what they had to give up to get there. You don't know what they had to do to get there. I mean, it's just so many things that we don't see. We only see their highlight reel. We only see where they are now. We only see, where they are in current flesh. We don't know, all the hard nights, all the nights they cried, all the nights where they felt like they didn't have any support, loss of friends, loss of family members, loss of support, loss of love, loss of anything. We don't see it. All we see is, a pretty face. All we see is a handsome guy or a beautiful woman or someone who has it all, or a Bentley or a Benz. That's all we see. We don't see the work that was actually put in, and we don't know what demons that they're actually battling. We don't know what they are actually going through mentally, internally, emotionally, financially. We don't know. All we see is what they allow us to see. So it goes back to what I'm saying. Money and success doesn't make you happy. Prestige and fortune does not make you happy. Money and success does not make you happy. Prestige and fortune does not make you happy. It was a reality check for myself, because sometimes, I get, despondent and in a place of despair, and in a place of, thinking that, man, you're not doing enough, or you're not working hard enough. But then it was a check. It was a reality check to where I said, well, enjoy the times where you are alone. Enjoy the times where you don't have, people swarming at your door everywhere you go. Enjoy the times of you just being able to enjoy yourself. Enjoy the process. Enjoy the small things that come within this process. Enjoy the small things that come, within life. On the way to receiving what you want to receive, on the way to the blessing that God has for you. So I think that it's imperative to enjoy the process, enjoy the small things that's inside of the process, because once you get there, we think that it's this magical one, and we think that it's just over. That's it. No more work, right? We think that it's just this magical one, and we don't think that it's no more work. We don't think that it's any more problems. In fact, it's more work. In fact, it's more problems. In fact, it's more things that you have to go through. In fact, it's more people that you have to deal with. In fact, the prestige brings positive and negative. In fact, the fortune brings more people with their handouts, more people, more beggars, more ass kissers, more people than you've ever thought that you would ever meet. People from all type of walks of life, different walks of life. Some people who actually care about you, some people who don't care about you. And my thing is, for a person to jump, 60 stories high from a high rise, what were they thinking? And I think that a lot of people feel that when you are successful, when you have fortune, when you have prestige, when you have money, when you have, success, everything that you may call the American dream, you think that you have it all and you don't have any other problems. And that's something that I just wanted to address, because it's not the fact that when a person get millions of dollars, when a person get, fans and fortune and prestige, we just supposed to just dismiss them. No, we don't. In fact, we should give them more attention. In fact, we should check on them more. You should check on your strong friends as well. You should check on the people, who you may think don't need you, because internally they may need someone to speak to. Internally, they may need someone to converse with. Internally, they may need someone to vent to. But the fact that we look and judge and say that, oh, they already have this, or they already have that, they already are successful, they don't need us. But you don't know what that person is going through internally. And I just wanted to take a segment and a portion of this podcast just to, recognize and spotlight this woman, Miss USA. I think that was a terrible thing. Who knows what happened? Who knows what her mindset was at the time? Who knows where she was mentally, emotionally? Who knows? And everybody could say this or that. Anybody could say anything, right? But I just want to let y'all know, to keep a rich mentality, you have to make sure that you're taking care of your mental health. You know, you gotta be able to enjoy this money. You got to be able to enjoy this prestige. You have to be able to enjoy this fortune. Because what's fortune, what's prestige if you have no one to share with? What's fortune and what's prestige if you feel like you are alone? What's fortune and prestige when you feel like you're the only one who has this and you're just lonely at the top? It doesn't mean anything. So definitely keep that in mind to maintain and sustain that rich mentality. You know, and another thing that I wanted to speak on, leaders versus followers, right? Leaders versus followers. Now, when you think of a follower, you automatically think of a bad thing or something that's just terrible. You know, like you just automatically feel like, man, I'm not no follower. You know, and anybody who is a follower is the worst thing that ever came into this world. But I'm here to tell you, in order to be a great leader, you must be a even better follower. Now, it doesn't mean that you stay in the lane of a follower for the rest of your life. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that you should be just only a follower. Absolutely not. But I do feel that in order for you to become a great leader, you have to be an even better follower, which means you understand structure, which means you understand organization, which means you understand how to move correctly, which means you understand the rules and regulations of whatever you're doing, right? So if you don't know how to follow, how can you lead? And I think that people mistake leaders from managers, you know. People who have ownership and people who have rulership. So the individuals who have rulership are the people who are managing something that was delegated for them to take care of to the best of their abilities from someone else who owns that particular thing, object, or substance. That's what a person who has rulership. So a person who has rulership is your supervisor. A person who has rulership is your manager. A person who has rulership, anybody who is, you know, over a certain position, but they don't own it. Now, ownership is a person who is a leader. Ownership is the person who owns the business. Ownership is the person who, you know, owns their life, right? Who leads their life. Ownership is the person who owns something, not rules it, right? So I think that people get those terms misconstrued. So you have to understand that being a follower is not a wrong or bad thing when you're utilizing it for good, when you're utilizing it, you know, to get to the next level, to leverage that information and knowledge that you have obtained, and then applying it to something else that's different. Right? Applying it to your business. For instance, you go to a job, right? And when you go to the job, you're technically a follower because you're a worker. You don't own anything. You're a worker. So you have to follow the rules. You have to follow the regulations. You have to follow, you know, the ways that they do things. You have to. But while you're there, you're learning about inventory. While you're there, you're learning about stock. While you're there, you're learning, you know, about how to operate a business and what are they doing to become successful at this business. While you're there, you're just learning everything to sustain your own business, right? So that's what I mean. If you're going to be a follower, gain the knowledge that a follower gains and become a leader. Apply it to your business. Apply it to what you're doing in life. Apply it to, you know, however it may benefit you. Apply it to that, right? So apply it to that. And what I realize is people want to become leaders overnight. And a leader thing is something that's not necessarily learned, but it's a characteristic. It's a trait. It's something that's already embedded in you, but something that has to be developed. Now, can everyone be a leader? Absolutely. Because the manufacturer created us for that particular reason. However, unfortunately, everybody don't develop their leadership skills. Everybody don't want to be a leader. Everybody don't want the responsibility of a leader. You know, so we all have the ability to be a leader. But I think that people get it misconstrued of saying, I'm the leader. I'm just the only one in charge, nobody else. No, that's a manager. A leader creates other leaders. A leader is an individual who wants to see someone else win and become a leader and put other people in position. For example, Rick Ross. You see Rick Ross, he put Meek Mill in position, right? You see Meek Mill put other artists in position. And that's what you call a leader. You know, somebody who is a manager is a person who he put you in a position and leave you in that particular position, not in position to levitate, not in position to leverage, not in position to elevate, but in position to stay in position. Right? That makes sense. So let me break it down. Like when you have a person who is an actual leader, his success is solely upon you becoming more successful than him. But a manager success is based off you staying up under them. You get the difference between being, a person of rulership and ownership, a person who is a leader and a manager, and the difference of being a leader and a follower, right? Follower is not something that's just really just terrible. You can actually learn something while being a follower and applying it to whatever you're doing and becoming, one of the greatest leaders. Bottom line. Now, one thing I will say is that in the time that we're living in, we are in a better time to become a leader, right? We're in a better time to become a leader. Why? Well, because people are looking for leaders, right? And I don't mean like people who are, already leaders. In some cases, yeah, they may be looking for it, but for the better half, people who need someone to lead them are looking for leaders. This is why it's easy to grow your social media following, because the blind is leading the blind. So when you have someone that have a little bit of knowledge or have a little bit of information, and you take the average Joe, they're looking for someone to follow. So why wouldn't the average Joe follow this guy who have information? Follow this guy who have a little bit of skill set. Follow this guy who know a little bit more than they do. Because we are looking for leaders. We're looking for someone to educate us. We're looking for someone to save us, right? But in actuality, the goal is to become a leader. The goal is to become a positive leader, and not a manipulator, but a positive leader. So if you have a business, if you are an entrepreneur, this is the best time. We got social media. This is the best time. The blind is leading the blind. So if you come in actually teaching something, if you come in actually giving them something to eat, and what I mean by eat is feeding them the right information and knowledge, you can become a person of value. And guess what that makes you? A leader. So this is another form of keeping that rich mentality, because you're becoming a leader. People who are individuals of value, they automatically are a leader. Why? Because they made themselves value. Well, how do you make yourself valuable? You learn a skill. You learn a skill set. You gain knowledge. You gain information. And once you apply it, you become an expert in what you are doing, and people view you or perceive you as a person of value. So the first thing that you think of when you get sick is what? A doctor. When you have a toothache, you think of a dentist, right? When you get hungry, you think of a restaurant, right? Or a grocery store, right? When your car gets totaled, or when your car it needs to be fixed, you think of a mechanic. Why? Because these are individuals who are valuable. These are the first people that come to mind, when you need this particular thing fixed or need this particular thing done. So what should people think of when they think of you? And that's how you become a leader, right? That is exactly how you become a leader. Become a person of value. How do you become a person of value? You learn a skill set. You gain information. You gain knowledge. And then once you apply that, you become an expert, and people view you or perceive you as an individual of value, and you become valuable. And normally on this podcast, we have a segment of one way to make $1 million, right? We have a segment of one way to make $1 million. And this will probably be the only episode where we don't speak about, one way to make $1 million. I rather utilize this month to give y'all information on, Black history, and just other ways of keeping a rich mentality. So I wanna drop a few names on y'all so y'all can really understand this, right? James Baldwin. James Baldwin was an individual, who was an author. He was a philanthropist and an activist, here back in between the 40s and 60s, in between that time. He was phenomenal. He was an individual, who spoke the truth. He was an individual who spoke about our Black history, social injustice, racial injustice, and things like that. He wrote multiple books, best-selling books, right? And the books that he wrote, it spoke on just being a Black Negro in America. He spoke on the racial injustice that we encounter in America. He spoke on a lot of things that we actually see today and that we're overcoming today. But James Baldwin is someone that you should actually, do more research on, look up, actually just gain more research. Another thing I want to drop on y'all today, right? Because we're gonna speak about Black history a lot on this podcast while this month is going, and even just going past this month, because I feel like it's imperative to know, and it's it's important to add to the arsenal of your rich mentality. So, do you know what a Uncle Tom is? What is Uncle Tom? And off the rip, I said in so many words, he's a sellout. He said, "No, you wrong." I said, "What you mean?" "Nah, Uncle Tom is an Uncle Tom. We know what it is. The person who sold out. He said, "Nah." Correct definition of an Uncle Tom is the person who refused to beat Negro slaves. Right? He was the person who refused to do anything against his race, his ethnic race. Right? Do you know the person who we're actually saying when we say Uncle Tom? We're actually referring to Sambo. His name is Sambo. Sambo is the person who would do anything for $1, who would do anything for a reward or incentive. He would do anything, towards his own race, just to become a person of value to his slave master. He would do anything, whether that was sell him out, whether that was beat him, whether that was tell on him, snitch on him, whatever the case was, that was Sambo. So whenever you calling somebody an Uncle Tom, you're really giving them a compliment. Right? So that's going to conclude the podcast. I want y'all to really think about these things, think about everything that was said, and just keep that rich mentality. So again, if y'all haven't, definitely check out one of these books, whether it's Fairly Unequal, whether it's Rich Mentality, whether it's Traumatized by Love, or whether you want to become an author. All of the links are in the bio. Definitely tune in and be sure to keep a rich mentality.